Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual home yoga practice live. I'm Belinda with Just Be Yoga. And here we are. And we're heading into the final stretches of our 12th month. And it feels like endings and at the same time beginnings, right? At least for me, it's like, I'm looking forward to a little bit of aspect of beginning. Um, and I want to be fully present with whatever's going on today. So, and that's pretty much the reality every day, right? But it does feel like it's a little more amplified and maybe a little more profound at this time of year. Uh, Greetings. So, if you are here and if you're new, feel free to make a comment in the comment box, whether you're here on Facebook or on YouTube. I like to be able to say hello and fully use this interactive tool. Home yoga practice has evolved over this year to be hopefully a space that gives us an opportunity to develop our own personal practice, not just be told, let's do this, do this, do this, and be told from an outside view what's going on inside of us. Because how does that work? People outside of us really can't tell us what's going on inside of us. True? And we will pretty much resist that if someone is going to try to come from the outside and tell us what's going on the inside. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some benefit to being guided about keeping your joints safe, about not pushing yourself beyond your boundaries, but that eventually, ultimately, if you're going to be practicing and developing your yoga practice, it has to become yours. And so that means you've got to roll out your mat. Hey, Joanna. I'm reaching out on the sides of the screen, and sorry, my left and my right are messed up. So there we go, and giving you a great big hug. All righty. So, but it can feel scary, right? It can feel scary to be sitting on our mat and saying, "Well, I'm supposed to do this by myself. Am I doing it right? What should I do first? What should I do second?" And ultimately, that answer is, what do you feel? But when we're new in our practice, we're like, what does that mean? Right? We've just got like defensiveness. So I hope today to share in as genuine of a way as I can, um, ways to just approach coming onto your mat. Maybe starting with some breath, and I'll come up with maybe two breath exercises that you might want to feel out. Don't just say, well, they said do this. No, write down, have a journal with you. Always have your own yoga journal. And like write down, okay, you can write down the name of it. You can write down like a little bit of like how you're supposed to do it. But feel then. How did that make me feel? Do I know yet? Might I need to continue to apply it a few times before I go, hey, something is happening, something is awakening. So some things to start to observe when you are in your body and your breath and your mind. Actually, let me back it up. Yoga means to create a connection, to create a union, a harmony, so to speak. And if you don't feel like breaking out in song, we'll just keep that harmony on the inside. And that means that we have to build an awareness of noticing what's going on a physical level. That's a huge terrain. We got bones, we got muscles, we got tissues, we got organs, we got all kinds of fluids and hormones and electrical impulses going on in our nervous system. So yeah, no wonder we could stay in the yoga, physical realm of yoga forever, because that's like a lot. Connecting to know what's going on and what's being reactive, what's growing, what's stretching. Then we get to explore, what's going on in my breath? Do I know how deep it is? Whether it's thin and shallow? Have I found the fullest regions and depths of my breath? How does my breath help me in times of tension? How does it help me in times of soothing, consoling? So that's a lot to start to learn how to do. And we might think, well, I've been breathing my whole life. I kind of know how to breathe. You know what? Once we start developing some of these breath practices, we start to realize, oh, there's a lot to learn about living in this shell. And then we get to come up to the wonderful playground of the mind. And our mind is sometimes running around unsupervised. Hey, Claudia, I thought that was you. You guys gotta call me out. I don't have my glasses on. See? I'm not pushing that on you. I'll push that on me. I need to be responsible for putting my own glasses on my face so I can see. All right. So I've just said, okay, yoga helps us develop an awareness of what's going on in our body and our breath and our mind. And that may feel simple little bullet points, and they are deep AF, right? So I'm going to start today with coming to our mat and bringing our awareness into our breath. If some of you have arrived and you go, oh man, this isn't the kind of yoga I want, and you're ready to bail, wait for it, okay? We're going to do some breath. We might move a little bit later and come back maybe to some breath, all right? So maybe give it a shot. Maybe even just look at that. And that can be your yoga today, to look at a resistance to something that you had an expectation of. Because that unto itself is a wonderful lesson for the day, something to connect with. That's your yoga. So find a comfortable way of sitting. You've arrived at whatever is the place that you've made in your home or your work, wherever you are. You could sit with your back against the wall. You could be sitting in a chair. Don't let all of that external what get in the way. Because you're already in it. You're in the skin you're in. And I can't tell you what that's like. I can only tell you what it's like to be in my skin. My skin's still a little damp because I got out of the shower right before turning on the camera. My skin's a little stiff because I was sitting for quite a bit yesterday. Let's invite a bit of silence. And notice everything you can outside of you and inside of you. Something so simple as I hear a hum to I feel cool air behind my neck. I'm wondering if I remember to turn an appliance off in the kitchen. Look at all of that is going on. What do we get to experience within the silence? And if you're noticing right now that something is agitated, physically, breath-wise, mentally, bring yourself actually to where you are. And ask yourself, are you reacting to what is? Or are you reacting to something that's a projection in your mind? The agitation is real. But what is it reacting to? And with each breath, can you guide yourself right here to the truth of this moment? However dull or exciting, however mind-numbing or agitating it may be. So now I'll invite us for a breath awareness, and it's just that. Notice air outside of your skin, air touching your skin. Feel it in low regions of your body and upper regions of your body. Be aware that air is outside of you. Be aware now of air entering your body, wherever you feel it in an orifice. I'm mostly aware in my nasal passageways, up into some of the upper sinus cavities. And that's me. How I'm aware of that is due to the temperature. It feels cool, and then it's stopping being cool, turning warm, as it's going from my upper sinus passages into some of my lower sinus passages. So stay aware of the air outside you, filling up the room, touching your outside skin. And feel that vacuum suction of drawing breath in and out. This is breathing. Now maybe envision your lungs. Can you notice different air sacs filling up? Are there some you're not aware of at all? Now, can you vary how you're breathing? Can you make the breath velvety soft? Doing to make it velvety soft. Where are you noticing that velvety softness? And what is this velvety soft breath doing to us emotionally? Where is it taking us memory-wise? Start to let yourself breathe a little more swiftly, a little more fully. And start to notice the physical impacts. First, starting to itemize different areas of the body that you notice are moving. That this outside air that is now inside air is touching. How is it making you feel? Sensorily. I'm getting a little spinny in my head. I'm noticing a little bit of a smile on my face. And now I'm going to adjust it because something in me wants to change it. I'm getting a little too spinny in my head. And notice where you even out on your own. What would you classify as a natural breath right here? Where you're not super controlling it and you're not letting it go either. Good. Breath awareness. Maybe use that as a cycle where you're just starting out. What's outside of me? What's inside of me? Where do I notice where it's inside of me? What's changing about that? And then start to affect the regulation of your breath. And just notice how that makes you feel. I love starting with slower. And then maybe amping it up and then settling down. Or after settling, going back to slower. And then maybe start to write down some things that you observe. When is my mind calmest? How do I feel when I get agitated? What do I notice about how deeply I can breathe? Is that starting to change over time? Not just in one session. Tomorrow, next week, a month later. Do you stick with it? Do you let it go and you notice, wow, there's been a 2-week gap since I actually just sat and paid attention to my breath. You don't have to be on your yoga mat to do that. You could do it in the car, maybe when you're parked. So maybe not while you're driving, all right? Drive to a park. It's a little nippy sometimes to be sitting outside in the park right now. So I will confess, I have sat in my car at Lake Lansing North and watched the sunset. And just kind of enjoyed a little bit of the warmth, but feel like I'm at the ocean and get a little bit of sunset all at the same time, right? Whatever works, okay? I'm not going to judge. All right, breath. Pranayama, breath exercises. Right now, just breath awareness. That's all. So if you're thinking about, I want to develop my yoga practice, I don't know ways to breathe. Let's just start with, I'm going to be aware of my breath. You can use it when you're in the middle of an argument and you want to cool down. You can use it if you're feeling anxious about something coming up. You can use it if you're sleepy, but you're having a hard time sleeping. You start to slow that breath down and watch what happens. All right. We're going to come to some asana now. Let's come to our hands and knees. If you have wrist issues, let me know. Coming to our hands and knees, asana, being in a comfortable seat in our physical bodies. Being comfortable as awareness creatures, consciousness creatures inside of our flesh. So already changing our relationship to our body is like the body is the car that we are inside driving. Okay? But we are not the car. Right? So when you're inside of the car driving, you don't say that I am the wheels, I am the seat, I am the outside. So right now as we're sitting and just swaying left and right, just start to notice like, yeah, the me, my identity is not me being in my arms. Maybe you identify yourself as your thoughts. Maybe you identify yourself as your emotions. So right now, just feel yourself kind of driving your car as you're swaying left and right. And even notice how it feels to kind of disembody yourself a little bit. Kind of go, well, I'm in it, and I do feel my weight shifting. What does she mean I'm not my body? Oh, crap, she's one of those yogis. Yeah, I am. But we get to start to notice how we're reacting to things that we're feeling. And can we create a distance between the things that we're feeling? My wrists are starting to get a little tired. My neck and my shoulders are starting to loosen up. I'm going to let my head go because I realized I was straining a little bit. And the inside me, the part that identifies with my consciousness, my awareness, said, hey, that stress was kind of a pain in the arse. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm not this body. I can let that body go. And then I'm going to shift back into my hips. So sometimes I just like to have an exercise, something where I arrive on my mat and I don't just instantly jump into yoga pose. I just have a somatic experience, an experience in my body to just kind of say, where am I? Am I fully identifying with my physical body? Am I fully identifying with my mind? What's aching or kind of distressed in my body that's going to take my attention? Make me wholly identify with it? And then feel that awareness, your consciousness. Is it tired? What does it need from the yoga, right? Because the body needs something different from our practice. And our mind needs something different from our practice. And what we're doing right now takes practice. Some of us have never spent time just being still and finding out, where am I? And what do I need? What is going on? All right, so the tops of my feet are starting to get a little numb, a little tingly. I noticed my mind was getting into fix-it mode, like, oh, I should hurry up and fix it. Another part of my self-consciousness went, oh my God, did you just say that to a whole bunch of people on the internet? And they're going to think you don't know what you're doing, right? So all of that is that ego mind jumping in. my self-consciousness mind. So what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your body? And now let's plug in and bring that breath awareness with us again. Your whole time on your mat could just be this. And this may be exactly what you need. In many ways, our culture is addicted to doing. We reward doing. Can you sit and feel and value the non-doing and just the observing? And that's going to take time because you're probably analyzing right now, not just observing. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of moving now. I'm going to lengthen my arms out in front of me. And that's it. I'm going to walk my arms a little bit further forward. Maybe start to see if you can notice, where is the initiation of the lengthening coming from? Is it coming from the wrists? So is the flesh in the wrists extending? Is the flesh in the elbows extending? What's initiating it? I actually feel like some of that initiation is coming just beneath my armpits on the sides of the ribs. That's where the extension is starting. It's following up in the shoulder socket itself, and that makes sense. It's a socket. There's space to be had in sockets. Bone pulling away from bone. A little bit of space extending in the flesh around my upper arm bones. Right? That bicep muscle is stretching. And actually, as I hold it, I can feel a little bit of stretch down my waist. Now my shins, right, from my body weight pushing down, my shins are stretching, and they're also kind of saying, will you get off of me? So that's legit. Me kind of scanning what is going on. Spread my fingers nice and wide, and I notice, there's a little tension in my right forearm. I don't know, I feel like I've been maybe clenching my hands in my sleep. I don't know, but that right forearm is really tired, as though I've been wrenching something. You all get to feel stuff out. Maybe some arthritis is yelling at you. All right, let's come forward to our hands and knees and just ask your arms, your hands, your wrists, do they want to support you? Feel your waist and your core having to support you. And then shift it back. I'm just going to flow. Fluid movements tend to really help me lubricate before I hold stuff for a long time. Breathing in as I come forward. And just start to feel what's moving. I feel the vertebrae in my spine, feeling my organs getting smushed, feeling my skin stretching, bending, compressing. Feel the skin on my face, my ears. Feel the compression in my wrists, my knees. Am I liking it? Am I not liking it? Is liking it the point? It's a part of the point. There's no reason we shouldn't have some joy. We should enjoy being in this body frame, and if we're not, that might be something we want to look at and do a little bit of some home improvement, right? Because we live here. Let's come forward to hands and knees. And see about tucking the toes. Now, I'm just going to if anybody has a cat, you guys might be familiar with the term like kneading bread. So I'm just kneading bread with my toes, and I'm feeling the stretch. I feel it mostly in my big toe and actually in my fourth toe. That's kind of interesting. And actually, if I wasn't looking at my feet right now, I might be confused as to whether I have a second and third toe because I can't feel them individually. So I'm just feeling out. Can I amplify? I just now felt my pinkies because I actually pushed them down. Starting to feel more stretch deeper into the sole of my foot. Good. Now I'm just lifting the knees up and down. I'm feeling the core muscles that are making that happen. Not any serious flex, right? I'm not having an Arnold Schwarzenegger moment or anything. Just being aware, feeling. No aches, no pain for me here, but some of us might be feeling stuff in our hips, our knees, core, waist. Maybe those wrists are starting to numb out. What feels good? What doesn't? Do you need to shake that out? Now I'm going to untuck the toes and sink back for child's pose. Feel your breath. Arrive on your mat, willing to meet yourself on a level of body, breath, and sensory experience, not thinking. Emotional experience, not thinking. What is balance and equilibrium? What is harmony? How do we feel it, not think it? Did we already go into an encyclopedia Google mind when I said that? Do we know how to embody balance and harmony, grace and peace? Let's breathe in as we come forward to hands and knees. If you're joining, tuck the toes. Be aware of those toes giving you support. And start to push through the arms, push through the legs into the floor, and notice when the knees want to lift, whether the hip wants to lift. Maybe you already needed to come back down into what is called downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. And we could pedal the heels up and down, or maybe we've had to bring those knees back down, okay? And we're all feeling out how much physical strength and energy did I need to do that. On a somatic level, on a sensory level, and an emotional level of what we're feeling when we either accomplish it or don't accomplish it. Turn the head left and right, maybe. Let's feel, where is the ease? Now, where is the distress? Anything that you may consider is stiff, not moving, fighting. What's going on there? Are you having like a mental judgment fight with that? Are you analyzing that? Or are you observing and learning about it? Kind of mapping our own distress. Like, oh, it feels tight from that zone to that zone. That tight feels more like an iron rod. This other tight feels like, I don't know, chewing gum that's starting to harden. Can we start to distinguish different sensations and how they make us feel? What's changing right now? Is something loosening? Is something tightening? Because everything is in a state of change. And we'll bring the knees down and find child's pose. We're making our physical body more habitable for our spirit. So what got lengthened, stretched, detoxified, invigorated, stimulated, aerated, ventilated. Okay, so your practice could just be that. Doing down dog over and over. You're going to lengthen the spine. You're going to work the core. You're going to be aware of how much pressure is going on in those hands and practice forgiveness with yourself. And we'll come forward to hands and knees, tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog. Now, for some of us, just coming up is enough. And figuring out, like, building the strength and saying, oh, you know what? I can only hold that for this amount of time before I'm really getting agitated, I'm not breathing smoothly, and just come down. And being okay with being patient for learning that as various muscle sets start to grow. If holding this space doesn't feel like you're exerting a ton of energy, you can start to then identify different regions to learn what's going on. Maybe seeing if we can rotate the upper arm bone inward and outward. And notice, is anything happening? Like, is your body actually answering you? Are you feeling the urge to look up at the screen and go, what is she talking about? Or are you actually just rotating that bone inward and outward and noticing what it's doing to your spine, what's tightening in your chest? Are the legs now saying, hey, you stop messing around with those arms because we're tired? So there's a lot of terrain, like I said in the beginning of our practice today, a lot of physical terrain for us to learn about, to map, to acquaint ourselves with. And bring the knees down and find child's pose. Now, we held that a little bit longer if you stuck around with me on that. What did you observe? What did you feel? What did you experience? Not what are you thinking. So feel sensations dissipating right now. Maybe that's letting you know a level of engagement that was going on that you hadn't been aware of. A level of tension or fighting. Ooh, or maybe there's a level of releasing and opening up, being exposed, that is making you feel a little more whole, a little more balanced. Come back to feeling your breath. If you're joining, experience your lengthening. From where? Is there more? Are you surprising yourself? Remember, states of change. Things are always changing. Are the hips sinking back? Is the chest lengthening? Can you feel more space between each rib in your chest cavity? How about more space in between the bones in your hands? Are we practicing patience, or are we actually running up against our impatience? And that's legit, saying, oh man, I spent a ton of time with my impatience on my yoga mat today. Good for you. Man, that's some brave work. Let's come forward to hands and knees, tuck the toes, lift our hips down, dog. And that's a great way to flip it sometimes. I spent some time with my impatience today. Not, man, I really sucked at patience today. No, just say, you know what, my impatience was running around like crazy. It showed up at 3 o'clock. It showed up at 6:30, and bring some humor and some levity. Now, if you like, maybe let's rotate the tailbone. Sorry, not rotate. Tilt the tailbone up and back and down, and notice what we notice in the backs of our calves, our heels, our Achilles, our hamstrings, our spine. Is anything moving at all? Be in the breath. Come down to your knees when you need. Now start to notice too, are you a doer? Are you a doing junkie? Do you need more? Or are you a non-doer? Like, do you give up? Do you stop all the time? And so where do you want to find the balance in this practice? Do you want to try to find one more because you rarely ever do? Do you want to try to find one less because that's so hard to do? I'm going to bring the left knee down and then the right knee down and roll up till we're standing on the knees, and just feel the head above the shoulders, above the hips. Eyes open or closed. And come back to observing your breath. What's tensing right now? I was noticing my belly muscles were tensing, not wanting to really let that breath come down there. A little bit of tension in my neck and shoulders, really choking my breath up into the upper chest. Come back to that quiet. And bring the hands to the low back, fingertips down. Knees are separated a few inches apart. Maybe sway your weight left and right so that you can feel out whether you're balanced. Don't assume that we know, right? And then we'll come back to center and you start to feel out, oh yeah, I tend to kind of dump into this hip a little bit more than the other. I'm just going to work the neck up and down a few times, noticing the muscles up and down the spine, responding as I tuck that chin down, noticing, oh yeah, the stretch begins where? When do we notice it starting to pull? I actually feel it in my low back when I tuck that chin down. Maybe some of you are feeling it in your upper back. Maybe you're not feeling any stretch at all. All right, I'm going to turn back sideways here. I'm going to try to keep my hips over my knees. Maybe you're already feeling enough of a stretch. Maybe something is already feeling lengthened, exposed, revealed. Maybe we're having a hard time just letting our tummy go because we want to suck it in. affected by the culture we live in, self-conscious, noticing where that's residing in how we are being in our body right now. Being on our yoga mat, coming to this yoga practice helps us be okay with being authentic with ourselves. And that means we got to see when we're not being authentic with ourselves. Try not to do the thinking about it, just feel it. And sometimes just feeling how unauthentic we are being with ourselves might make you want to cry a little. And that's okay. I know I've had some humble moments where I'm like, dang, really? I really have that much negativity inside of me about myself? And I don't think about it. I just feel it and just let whatever that emotion is come out. If you want to, you could lift the rib cage a little and see what happens. Can you feel the muscles and the sinews stretching in your abdomen? Now, you don't have to want to be here. This is a very revealing and vulnerable position, camel. Right? There's nowhere to hide in this. So honor that. Go back down to child's pose. Notice where your breath went. Did your breath try to go and hide? Are you trying to force the breath to say, stop hiding? Or are you letting the breath find that nice, soft, velvety, it's slowly asking for permission. Slowly starting to feel more and more safe to be like this. We can work on feeling strong here after we're feeling safe here. And then let's gently come on back and down into child's pose. All right, so we've been stacking it on, stacking it on. If your knees are tired, you could be laying on your back instead of child's pose. You guys, that could be enough. You could have done this for 15 minutes on your mat. A little bit of breath, a little bit of child's pose, a little bit of down dog, a little bit of camel. Now, this can be a really hard reality for a lot of people, especially if they are vinyasa yogis, flow yoga practitioners. It'll really kind of an aerobicized yoga experience. I'm not criticizing it. I love a vinyasa practice as much as the next person. But we do have to eventually start to look at what am I running away from or running to in that. Got no problems with stoking the engine and then eventually holding. All right, so we've really only done a little bit of balasana, child's pose, a little bit of down dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana, and then a little bit of camel or Ustrasana and breath awareness. That could be the sum total of your practice for any single day, or you could pick different poses. Remember I said starting to scan a little bit of our physicality, having that peace and quiet. Sure, jam some music out, but also add in 2 minutes of silence, 3 minutes of silence. Observe your breath, observe your mind, observe what drives you crazy about it if it's driving you crazy. And then over time, start to add in a little bit more time. So I can find this harmony, this peace, this grace in the stillness. Because the stillness is where we meet ourselves. And the stillness is where we actually start to connect and yoke. When we create a lot of noise, a little exterior sound, music, it's a distraction. It's a distraction from what's going on in here. Not saying it's bad. Sometimes we need that distraction just to get us going, just to bring us here and keep us coming. Then eventually pull a little bit of it away. All right, I am going to do a sun salutation. I'm going to come forward to hands and knees. I'm going to step the right foot up and maybe walk that up a little bit further. Actually, I'm going to bring it back. I love bringing an awareness of how I move, my intention, right? You can separate a lot out in your yoga based on your actions, your words or speech, and your intentions. So I want to do the action, right? I want to step the foot up to the top of the mat. Well, what was my intention as I did that action, okay? And I want to do things with kindness, with mindfulness. And kind of stomping my foot up there might not be the case. So we'll look and see. And was it difficult? Was it hard? Was it just something we didn't want to do because that was a little too present? To just kindly step the foot up. And then maybe walk your hands up the knee. Maybe have a blanket under your knees. And then if you have stability and balance, you can lengthen the arms upward. You could always just keep your hands here, honoring where we are. Let's take a breath or two here. Observe what's stretching. Maybe feel your hips. Are they cocked? Did they twist? Is your hip saying, hey, I've had enough of this? What's arguing? What's saying, I like this? And then we'll bring the hands down. I'm going to tuck the back toes. Again, our intention. How did I bring that left foot up? Did I drag it, scrape it, stomp it? And then look at the feet. So actions, words, and intentions. How are we wearing that? Half flat back. I'm going to lift the spine up halfway, trying to see if I can make the spine parallel with the earth, feeling that horizontal shelf. Knees could be bent, noticing how the backs of the legs are responding. Now, if you can keep those legs straight, try not to jam the knees back. Let's be kind on the joints. Top of the head lengthening forward. Look at your toes. What are they doing? Look at your ankles. What are they doing? You get the picture. Start to scan all the way around. What's the flesh under your armpits doing? Is anything tensing? Does it need to be? How about your jaw, your throat, your eyeballs? What face are you making to yourself in the mirror beneath you? And forward, fold, letting that upper body hang, letting go, not doing, we're feeling. Round the spine up patiently. Now, rounding up tends to be a wonderful way to be kind to the back as we're coming up so that we're not putting any undue strain on the back. Some of you might have a little bit more core strength or maybe no back issue, or you're wanting to start to develop that and you're not having any sort of pain or discomfort already. We'll squeeze the thighs, hinge, straight spine, forward, trying not to have all of the weight back in the heels. Just again, observing how did we do that, and then pull it back up to the half flat back, and then push the feet down to come up with a nice flat spine. So as I said, that may not be what you want to do if you are experiencing pain or discomfort in these hips, okay? We're building awareness muscles. Maybe you do a mixture. You roll a few times, and then one strength one coming up flat. Maybe after you do a few flat ones, you start to notice that your back starts to talk. What will you do to modify that for yourself? I am not a fan of coming up with numerical repetitions, like saying, I have a goal of 20 of this and 15 of that. Because this, again, remember I said that this is my body that I live in. It's not an actual car. And so I don't want to treat it that way on any sort of performance basis. But I do want to build the awareness to listen and say, oh, wow, I'm doing this thing that's actually creating harm, creating damage, creating distress. And I am here on this mat to be in a space of creating harmony, some grace, some peace. And do I know how to do that? Or have I become so accustomed to a state of distress and distraction? Yoga, right? Who's that? Hi, is it Tarika? Great to have you. All right, so we're going to continue with that sun salutation. Let's breathe in and lift. Remember what I said when we were in the child's pose. Where are you lifting from? Can you lift from your shins, from your kneecaps? Can you put energy into that? Can you lift from your low abdomen and pubic bone? Can you lift from the front of your chest? Can you feel the skin on the front of your body lifting? Shoulders down. And hinge. You choose whether you're rounding it down or flattening the spine to come down. And then we'll lift the spine up halfway. Maybe use a block down here out in front of you to give you some support. Feeling your core shelf, holding your torso, feeling your legs, holding your upper body. I'm going to bring the hands down and step the right leg back and bring the knee down. Some of you may need to wiggle or step that right knee back a little bit further. That's up to you. The more you take that back, the more you're going to really be amplifying the stretching and the lengthening in the front of this hip and thigh. Choosing whether we're coming up, asking our core and our balance and equilibrium to be rooted, or whether we're going to bring our hands to our knee and come here. You can choose a number of breaths, or you just start to notice, hey, I'm really struggling and making a whole bunch of adjustments, wobbling and wiggling to stay upright. That's distress. It's time for me to come out of this because I'm not finding that equilibrium. I'm just staying in a state of fight. But don't be hesitant to sit and observe the fight. We have to also learn about our nature. What do we do? Are we panicking? Are we yanking? Are we judging in our minds? Or do we start to slow down the adjustments and we're cool with just a little sway that's going on? Kind of drunken yogi, you know? What's going on in our breath? Does this area of the body want this attention? Is it craving this amount of movement? Has it been being neglected? What is it telling you? And we'll lift, offering a little bit more space in the chest, a little bit of energy of receiving and surrendering upward. We'll bring the hands down, step the left knee back. Now lean chest over thumbs and lower yourselves down. Chin and chest first. The butt can be kind of pooched up. And then I'll lift the chest and pull the belly forward and laying flat down. Breath in, lift the chest, cobra. So I'm so rooted. Tops of the legs are down. Much of my body gets to feel nice and heavy because a lot of the surface is on the floor. And I get to lift the chest and just see how much of just that region wants to lift. My elbows remaining bent. I'm not going to impose my will on my body. I'm going to ask it where it wants to go, keeping those hips down, and then child's pose. Maybe you find a few breaths here. Maybe you do a camel in the middle. We'll do another sun salutation if you want to join. Maybe you just want to sit and do breath. Maybe you want to do a different pose altogether. Maybe you want a down dog. We'll breathe in and come forward into the hands. We build a new awareness. Observe something different about your hands. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog if you want to do a down dog. What are you doing in your legs, in your hands, in your shoulders? Feel the scaffolding of your bones supporting you. What is at ease? What is very active? What is the state of what is active? Is it in distress? Is it forcing or straining? Or is what is active feeling nice and solid, assured and confident? Or is it timid? Is it afraid? Breath in. Exhale. I'll bring the right knee down. Care and intention to step the left foot up. Taking my time to come up. Now, you don't have to have the same pace as I am. Don't try to keep up with me. That's another hazard of like this video yoga experience, even studio experiences. Hands down when you're ready, when you're stable. Do we even know when we're stable? Tuck the toes, straighten the back leg. Step the right foot up. Did you have to shove it to use momentum to bring yourself up? Half flat back. Are you making a choice or are you trying to keep up with me? What are you getting to feel in your organs, your legs, your throat, your voice? Forward fold. What information are your ears sending you about your immediate environment? Where is your mind? Where are your thoughts? We'll round the spine up, lifting your head last. Travel your awareness up and down your entire spine. Give it the gift of your attention. What are you learning about your spine? How flexible it is, where it's holding tension, where it's been carrying the bulk of the load of us. And we'll lengthen upward. What are we reaching toward? And forward fold, maybe a nice flat spine coming forward. Look at your feet. Ease in your toes, your ankles. Ease and steadiness, half flat back, breath in. I'm going to step my left leg back, bringing that knee down, coming up and lifting. Some of you might be feeling loose. The body is more open to this activity. Maybe you're dipping down into that left hip, lifting from your waist, saying, I want to feel more space in my belly and my waist. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're noticing that your body is resisting that level of opening. And we'll bring our hands down, step the right knee back. Find your version of plank, okay? You could be on those knees or those legs could be straight. Take a moment and observe. What is your mind telling your body? What is your body telling your mind? Is it true? And lower it down. Is truth changing? Right? Remember, we're also meeting ourselves in spaces of change. We're inviting change. Breathe in and lift. Hips are down. Chest is lifting. Breath. Who are you inside of this body vessel? And child's pose. What's lengthening? What's rooting? What are we noticing inside of the quiet? Let's make our way up. Let's come up to hands and knees. And we'll step the right foot up. Give it some time and attention. You might even practice that. Stepping, 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 stepping. Right? It doesn't have to be at this pace. I'm really just doing that to kind of have you amplify seeing, like, how do I place myself there? Now, you might want to put a block under your right butt. We're going to do half Hanuman, half of a split. I'm going to sink my butt back onto this left heel. This right leg is out in front of me. Again, you could have a block. I've got blocks right here. I've got a cat right here. I'm going to bring that right butt on there. My spine is up. This left leg is getting a stretch on the shin because it's bent back behind me. Your ankle may not like it. You might want to have the toes tucked. You might want to opt out of this altogether. You want to keep that leg with an intention of flexing and staying engaged and let the upper body go. And, oh, my body said, you better stop. So I'm going to stop. Now I'm going to keep this leg straight. So I'm squeezing all of these muscles and I'm going to rotate side to side. And just notice what I'm noticing and really across the back of that calf. But the state of what's changing about the texture and the sensations of the stretch. Or in my case, of the scream. Because it literally feels like a little mini scream down there in the back of my calf. And it's changing, right? For me, and initially it started to sound really loud, and now it's like, well, it's a little more muted. And I'm going to bring myself up. I'm going to just bring this foot in, grab this block, bring that knee down, and switch. Let's practice that again. I'm going to move this. I'm going to step and step, step and step. Feeling the muscles in my belly and in my leg. Which ones are doing the lifting? So the muscles in my core are actually stabilizing the core so that the muscles in the hip can lift, and then the muscles in the leg are creating the movement around the bones of the leg. Okay? You could do this with hip rotations and then step, right? Lubricating and checking it out. You do that enough times, you are going to start to notice, oh, they are doing something. They have a role. They have a function in there. What have you been doing my whole life? At least those are the conversations I have with my body and my yoga. All right. Butt is back. Heel is down. Feeling out. What areas of the body needed some attention? Maybe had been feeling neglected. Okay, so I'm not saying that this is an ideal set. I'm just saying, hey, this is just a way of moving. Squeezing these thighs. rotating a little, whoop, side to side. And coming forward, stopping when I want to stop. Notice any urge that you're having to force, to bounce. What's truly going on here? Are you finding some ease? Do we even believe that ease is a part of this practice? Or do we believe that something always needs to be in distress? Something always needs to be straining or feeling some sort of resistance or pain? Is that the only way that we know that something is happening, some work is going on that is valid? We have to start to inspect what it is we believe about peace and steadiness and ease. Because if we think that we're aspiring toward it, but we don't really know how to let it in, and it can be right there in front of us, right? It's like right there, like hello, and you're like, no, it's gotta hurt more for me to feel the peace. Oh, I am only speaking from real life, my own. I'm not. This is no one else's story. Be in your breath. What's changing right now in the back of that leg? What did you stop doing? What did you disengage from? Did you stop squeezing that left leg? And we'll bring ourselves upright. Maybe hang out there, right? I could probably hang out there for a little longer, but for the sake of our time today, I'm not. I'm going to move my block out of my way, bring this leg out in front of us. Flex the toes. These legs can be as wide as the mat, maybe out in front, a little closer together. Our bodies have been in this shape already in the half flat back when we were standing at the top of the mat there. What's similar and what's different? What muscle sets are kind of saying hello to us, making themselves apparent that were not before? I'm having a little bit of a cramp, a little bit of a spasm of some muscles in my upper left thigh because they're engaging to hold me down onto the earth. Chest is lifting. I'm going to experience a twist. We really haven't done any twisting today. Now I'm going to try to just keep my spine in an equilibrium, okay? Not breaking my plane, chilling out back here. Not way up here. So can I have these bones stacked on top of these bones? And these bones directly in alignment with one another here. So I'm not going to lean too far back. Some of you might want to have a block here to keep you from leaning too far back. So spine up, twisting from here. Chest, there's energy that's still lifting upward. So can you feel that pull upward? And feel energy rooting downward. And where do you notice it? Or is everything all about this arm helping you twist and yank and torque? Twists provide us a lot of terrain to be aware of, right? So I'm feeling that midsection. I'm feeling the breath in the organs, in my diaphragm. Feeling my vertebra. A few of them are going snap, crackle, pop. And then we have some that are still happening, which really helps us remember that everything's in a state of transition on its own. Practicing being aware of my impatience. What's the grace and ease and peace that we're inviting here? We got to invite it first, get to know what it is first before we can practice the patience and the ease. Woo, gently releasing, having some space for feeling the release. I'm still feeling remnants of waves of different fibers of my being, letting go and letting go and letting go. I might help it out a little bit, but I'm also making sure I'm not rushing it. My little impatient monster coming along. And it comes up a lot, especially when I'm in front of a camera nowadays. I'm very cognizant of time. And so it's like, I better hurry up. And it's like, But also, people can leave if they want. Let's lift the chest, breathe in. Exhale, twist on this side and get to know this side. This side of the ribbing of the spinal column of the nervous system. This side of skin and bones. This side even of our mind. What is our relationship with being aware of our digestive system? Can you feel stuff that's moving in your organs right now? What is the benefit of us being that aware of living in a physical, organic body? Of having some harmony in how we live in this body, how we treat it, how we nourish it, coming back to center. All right, everything we've done so far today has been fairly neutral, so I do want to do a hip opener before we're leaving one another. So a little bit of balance to the body. I am in no way trying to say that poses and alignment in poses are not important. Just today is just not exploring like all of the mechanics of a pose. But if we have had neutral spaces, having balance of open spaces or even adducted spaces, internal rotated spaces, is nice to create equilibrium of the types of movement, ergo the types of energy that we're living in these physical bodies. I'm just going to hold here and just feel the hips being where they are. You might want to roll up some cushions under the knees or thighs. Feel the upward energy of the spine. Go back to the beginning. Feel the air in the room. Feel the air coming inside of you. Notice the functions in your body right now inside of you. Circulatory functions. Nervous system functions. Digestive functions. How about anything excretory? Can you feel all of your mucus? Any fluids in your mouth? Eyelids? Yes, even genitalia. It's a part of us. Is there excessive fluid? Is there deficient fluid? Just start to hinge forward and back. Nice, light, lubricating movements, and just notice how the back is responding, what sections of the back are responding. Does it feel good? Is your body thanking you right now? Are your hips thanking you? Is your mind trying to drive this car? Can you remember the throat and the neck and put some intention into that movement? And then hold when you're ready. Noticing what's changing, noticing where your mind is going. Inviting peace and grace and patience. Try not to cast anything aside that's creeping up. I know I've done that. I've been like, oh, stop that. Stop thinking about that. Stop doing this. And just let it come in and let it pass. Instead of trying to put up a big wall barrier to stop something from happening, we're here to observe what is. So let's look at what is and let it flow through and then welcome what's the new thing that is, that's arriving. Because who we are right now has already changed from who we were and what we were feeling and thinking in the beginning of our practice. Scan your body. What's trying to do something that doesn't need to be doing it? And instead of telling yourself to stop something, just let it through. Melt around it. Feel your own, like dam walls, just starting to erode. Can you use your breath to help remind you of that in a soothing, soft way? Soft, velvety way. What parts of you are thanking you for that intention? And at the same time, what's starting to build up, right? What's starting to amplify? Certainly some of the stretch area for me in the groin and the thighs. And a little bit of my low back is starting to amplify. But my neck is really grateful. My upper back is really grateful as the body is melting and transitioning and trusting. I'm going to bring myself up. Please stay there if you need to, if you want to. Trying to let that ease stay on me like a shroud, like a cloak. And just feeling the impact of that nice, heavy, calm patience, presence. I'm going to bring the legs out in front of me and just ask a little bit of my core to patiently lower down and observe and be in my breath as I do this. Be in the physical fleshy body as I do this. Be in my intention as I do this. I'm just going to let the knees rock left and right. Trying not to control. Reclining really helps us start to be into postures that help us practice surrender. Present awareness in surrender. Acceptance of support. We can feel our back resting into the earth, leaning into that support. Let the body trust. Let the mind let go of having to be in the driver's seat. Noticing the mind, maybe judge how things are flopping. And if the mind, I'm calling myself out here, the mind is going, you're flopping wrong. Right? Then we got some control issues. And I do. I'm like, what do you mean I'm flopping wrong? Flopping is just flopping. Carry a little bit of that joy. Make yourself laugh. I have had some of the heartiest belly laughs on my own, on my mat. Let's go ahead and lengthen the legs out toward the front of the mat. Position the arms where you like them. For me today, I'd like to reach the arms up and then just let them go limp and see if I can be in a shape of expansion without having to exert energy. That's me. You choose where you would like your body for our final posture of awareness and intention within stillness and silence. Shavasana. What are we experiencing? What ease and surrender and grace are we inviting to feel, not do? Be intentional and peaceful as you bring yourselves upright. Maybe just close with that same breath awareness. This time being aware of our awareness itself, because we've done a lot of flexing of our awareness muscles. Notice the state of our mind, the state of our emotions, the state of our physical body. And are we occupying our body, our breath, and our mind in our most balanced way? And hopefully, occupying our bodies and our breath and our minds in a balanced way will serve us off the mat, serve us within ourselves, serve us among our loved ones. I'm Belinda, and this has been our home yoga practice live here today online. And I hope that it has served you in a certain way, in any sort of way that you wish. Please have a journal, we set a plan, do it for an amount of time, keep coming back and doing it for an amount of time. Observe what you observe in your amount of time, and seek guidance in your practice. Namaste. Now, if some of you are wondering, well, weren't we supposed to do an Om? And weren't we supposed to do X or Y? If you want to start involving chanting practices and mantra practices, go for it. Make it your own, however. What's nice about doing an Om before and after your practice is that it can bring your mindset to, I am coming onto my mat for my intention. It can be an Om. It can be Home. It could be Amen. It could be a prayer that means something to you in whatever your spiritual practice is. So let's not get fixated. And at the same time, is Om a wonderful, primordial, and healing sound? Yes, I'm not in any way trying to take that away. But I also don't want people to feel as though things have to be rigid and they have to be a certain way. All right? You get to choose and you stick with it. That's what you get to kind of hold on to as a practice, as ritual, not rigid. All right, I could sit here and yap all morning long. Carrie! Oh, sister girl, good to see you. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for popping in. It's always wonderful to have you in all that you share in your practice, so thank you. Joanna, thank you. Claudia, thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, okay. For whoever's still here. Okay, so I've got an idea. And so if you're interested, email me at belinda@justbeyoga.com, JUSTBY, just be yoga. You see it right there. So my idea is this. I will open it up to as many as 3 people, but who would like showing up for home yoga practice tomorrow? But I'm going to send you a special code, and you will actually be on screen with me, but I will be able to see you, and I can offer specific adjustments, or we can work on specific things that you would like. The key, though, is others will see you as well. So that is going to be up to you, but I would love it if a couple of folks would like to basically have a little bit of some one-on-one, but it's just going to be more attention to you in the room rather than just everybody in their own little single cells at home. So let me know. Just email over, and tomorrow before practice, I will send you a link, and you will be right here beside me on the camera, and I'll be able to see you, and we'll be able to work, and you'll be able to talk about, what do you mean I'm supposed to feel this, and my intention, and all that gobbledygook you've been talking about in our yoga. Elizabeth, thank you so much. Teresa, you like that? Home improvement? We're working on our home improvement. But let's not have too many goals about it. Let our home kind of direct the kind of home it wants to be. Turn over the reins of control. Lord knows we're trying to hang on to control tendrils through many aspects of our lives on our mat. Learning to let that go is a huge superpower that we're trying to learn how to develop. All right. Thank you. More tech know-how, Elizabeth. Well, come on in, Elizabeth. Send me an email if you're interested. Okay? Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Go forth